are live. Welcome, everybody. Oh my God, we got over 500 people in here already. Thank you guys so much for the love and support. Let me make sure my settings are good. All right. Awesome. Happy New Year's. I know it's 2 days in, but again, this is my first live of the year. And prayers for the families involved, though it went down in Louisiana. And man, let's just hope we can restart, because man, I just went on Twitter for a minute, and it's like people are posting stuff left and right, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to look at Twitter right now. It's terrible. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Before we get started with Sebastian Rogers, we always like to feature a missing person at the beginning. So before we get going, we've got Carlee Lyons, who went missing on August 13th of last year. So that is about 4 months ago. 30 at the time she went missing. She's 130 pounds, 5'8", brown eyes, black hair. Looks like she's got locks or dreads, depending on who you speak with. She went missing out of Phoenix, Arizona, and it says that she was released from the county jail in Maricopa County, and it looks like, I guess, she struggled with addiction and homeless is what it says in the notes. But after she got released, they hadn't heard from her, sadly, and the family is looking for her. So if anybody has any information, you can call the number down at the bottom, 602-262-6151. Once again, that's Carlee Lyons, missing out of Phoenix, Arizona. All right. Got a lot of love in the chat. I appreciate everybody. You guys are amazing. I've got basically 4 main topics to kind of touch on. And just so, before we get started, I'm just going to play a quick little recap. It's just a minute and a half. Just to make sure my everything's good. So I'm going to play this real quick and just make sure we're all good.
1008 traffic court today. Caller guys this morning and was having a 15-year-old male not in the bed. We are right now 3 blonde hair working my bed, but we're going to turn down. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. You know, those have a kind of autism. It's the first time it happened. I'm going to be in the home before midnight. All the doors are locked at this time.
Informer.
Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic teenager who lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was last seen Sunday night on February 25th by his mother, Katie Proudfoot. The next morning, on the 26th, his mother went to wake Rogers up and get him ready for school, but Rogers was nowhere to be seen. Sebastian Rogers was allegedly wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, his glasses, and his keychain flashlight. They also claimed that all of his shoes were accounted for, which means he is most likely barefoot. His case has garnered a lot of media attention, which has helped get his tragic story out to the masses. There has been numerous searches for Sebastian Rogers, including a landfill search in the beginning, to groundwater and air searches.
To censor myself, holy freaking crap, this can't be happening, where is my kid? Choice words were used. Like, you know, where the F is he, you know. I had looked through the house for him, because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that, and he likes to dip behind the, you know, walls and watch, you know, and then he comes out after I come back and he likes to see me. But, after I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat, but I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name, and I picked up the phone and called my husband, and I said, I can't find him, and he said, what do you...
Okay, so today's video we're going to go over, I've got 3 main topics, but it's going to extend out to about 4 or 5, but the main ones is Green Hoodie, the flashlight video, because of course that's my bread and butter, what I've worked on, and I found a couple more new things, very interesting, thanks to the team that went out there and tried to put out false narrative. But we'll touch on that when we get to that point. What were they using in the backyard, which is on my thumbnail. We'll go over that. And then at the very end, we're going to look at the locks on the door because there's something I noticed in a certain screenshot. Again, when we get to that point, we'll kind of cross that bridge. But yeah, so that's going to be the four main topics. So we'll start out with the green hoodie. And I just want to play a little statement by Katie, just to kind of remind everybody. And again, we really tried to stick with the evidence, but, I'm going to point out red flags where I see them. But again, for the most part, we like to try to say, with the facts and evidence.
Or where he's gone. I know that they're looking, and I went asking everybody and anybody that has cameras, trail cams, stores, to check even from before he went missing, just to see if there's anything at all.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's what I would think any, mother, any parent would want, especially, where this, in my opinion, leans more towards an abduction, just from the stuff that I've seen. Not saying I know 100% one way or another, but just with what we have, the little that we do have, in my opinion, points more towards one side than the other. So with that, now is it an inside job or an outside job is another question. But either way, let's just say if it was an outside job, I would definitely think you'd want to definitely look at, the night before, because did someone follow you home? The last place you were at was Texas Roadhouse, allegedly. The time frames are kind of, she doesn't really get very specific when it comes to, that day before. She kind of goes over a timeline, but we don't have like exact, times, except for the stuff that comes out with, timestamps. But so one thing I just wanted to talk about with the green hoodie, even though that video's been dissected, I just wanted to bring up one point on this here and get your guys' thoughts. But so I just wanted to remind everybody when this was released. So at night released, they mentioned it on the 6th. Now they first released the 2 minute and 30 second video, which was just the inside, didn't show green hoodie. Now they did mention green hoodie, and I don't know if they released images on December 6th, but I know on December 7th, they would then release photos and, the video. And then, of course, I think they would release more video after that. But the main date, I think, is December 6th and or 7th. So we'll keep that locked in. So that's when they released it. And then, of course, we've kind of seen...
we FaceTime family while we were...
the footage, and it is definitely a little sus. Again, I know this video has been broken down, so I'm really just going to try to get to the point, but let's just play that one little clip, which, again, I don't know.
After breakfast, family members, we come home.
And this is Katie talking about, what she did that day, so this is kind of got audio from the Chronicles of Olivia. Or no, this is Dutch's interview.
Home and put our groceries away. And then a little bit later, we went to the bowling alley, a local bowling alley here, and we played games. And then and this is just Bubba and I, and we went to dinner, just the two of us, and then come home. He took the trash out because that's his chore. And he come in and he was playing in his room until bedtime. And at bedtime, I told him, I said, hey, Bubba, it's time to go to bed. And he goes, okay, good night, Mama, I love you. And then he said good night to his puppies. And
I do appreciate the super chat, Rachel. And yeah, it's definitely plausible that the whole green hoodie could have an innocent explanation. Although I think a lot of us who have seen it, at the very least, could say it is an odd encounter. Because this lady literally comes 2 minutes before and stands by their car. And then instead of going in and eating, they go to the restroom as if they were acting like they were, just going in to eat or something, but then go use the restroom and then literally leave. That's it. Like, I mean, at the very least, that's
And
a red
he
flag. At
went
the
to
very
bed.
least.
Of Sebastian Rogers.
And the fact that when Katie walks out, I know I've even speculated, it could be a homeless person that just maybe was waiting for somebody, but you can definitely see that when she came out, and again, like I said, I'm not going to break this down because we've already done that, but to get my point across, here we have a lady standing between this tight space, and Katie just goes right up to her as if she knows this person. And I would think if it was a stranger, you would have, would expect one or the other to pass by before you just brush up by somebody, that you don't know. Again, this green hood lady, or Mel, I think it's a lady, could have nothing to do with the case, but at the very least, the whole interaction is sus. Even these people are like, got their heads turned like, hey, what's going on? Very, very odd. But anyway, moving on. So just to remind everybody, this got released, they mentioned it December 6th, but we'll just go with December 7th. So December 7th was a Saturday. And then, of course, people were breaking it down, which, again, you would think, there's, in my eyes, I think it's, out of all the scenarios, I think abduction's at the highest, in my opinion. Again, whether it's inside or outside, I just want to fight Sebastian. I don't care who, yeah. Anyway, but then, so we know, of course, everyone broke it down, and I'm sure they probably called in tips, and so they were getting flooded with tips. So then we get some statements, and this one comes on December 13th. I'm just going to read this bottom part. Let me take a sip here. But I find this very interesting. So it's pretty short, but it says, police said they interviewed the individual on Friday about the night on February 25th, which is, last time he was seen, and said they have confirmed that there is no evidence linking them to Rogers' disappearance, meaning them referring to green hoodie person and to Rogers' disappearance. Now, just to show you guys what they mean by Friday, just to kind of clear, what date they're talking about, I pulled up another article just to make sure, because, I could easily get twisted around what Friday. So here's another one. And I've got it highlighted here, and so I'm just going to read the bottom part. It says, detectives interviewed the person in question on December 13th, which was a Friday, regarding their presence of the night on February 25th. Sheriff's Office confirms that after a thorough discussion with this individual, there is no evidence linking them to the Sebastian's disappearance. So this is the question. This is what scares me, is that gets released on the 7th. They allegedly find this person and speak to them within a week, which seems reasonable if they found this person. But the thing that scares me is, did it really take them? Let me make sure the date here. That was almost 10 months. Did they really take them 10 months that they didn't think about going to the last place he was seen at, publicly, that had footage? And this is the first time interviewing that lady in the whole 10 months. It's 9.5 months, more or less. But do we really think that it took them 9.5 months to find this person and interview them?
Oh, interesting.
Now,
Okay.
And
if they did, that scares the shit out of me, because that means they're not really looking into this case. Or they already known about this person. And of course, I'm sure because, At Night released this footage, they're getting a bunch of calls. And of course, they're going to be like, oh, well, we need to put a statement out because we're just going to keep getting flooded with, calls about, suspicious green hoodie person. Now, it could be possible they have nothing to do with disappearance. But at the very least, I hope to God it didn't take them 9.5 months to find them. I really don't think that's the case. I really think that they knew about this person, but they had to put out a statement to, obviously, because they're just going to get a bunch of, they're just going to get flooded with calls saying, like, you got to look at this lady at night, put out this thing, and, they're acting strange around the car, and Katie's interacting with him, so of course they're going to have to put something out, right? I mean, you can't blame them there. So, but again, it's one or the other. Either they are absolutely terrible and we need to get another agency, more agencies involved if it took them 9.5 months to find this person, which I really don't think that's the case. But then, so that tells me there's still a possibility that maybe this green hoodie person does play a role in it. Again, I don't want to go too deep into it because, because social media and true crime can be a double-edged sword where, there could be some really good things. And then, we've talked about this many times in previous shows where, it is a double-edged sword. True crime community can be very good. And then sometimes they can tear innocent people's lives apart and, release and dox them. And that just ruins their lives. And they have nothing to do with whatever case someone's covering, but they release their identity and, and so, I think at the very least, I don't think we can, figure out where that lady is. So, but anyway, I digress. And I think a lot of people are saying, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think they know. I think they know who this person is. Now, again, is it related? I don't know. But then, just the last part with Green Hoodie, and then we're going to move on to the next part. So Chris gets asked about it on that Elevated Truth. I'm sure a lot of people have heard this interview. I just want to play one little clip from it. Get your guys' thoughts.
I said that in an interview a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement does not want that information out there. I am not releasing it.
And I love how he always uses law enforcement doesn't want this released. I can't say it because law enforcement. He's always saying that. Now, could there be some truth to that? Sure. But I just find it odd. It seems like his main excuse, in my opinion. But then they ask him about Green Hoodie.
Just know the last time I saw Sebastian was early February. Okay. Until I came home February 26th. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. I understand.
Now, this Green Hoodie guy, do you know anything about that? Can Katie explain, or can you explain why this gentleman was next to the car? What that actual, what was happening in that footage? Is that footage correct?
What I can tell you about that is law enforcement has talked to Katie. They've been able to answer all their questions. And once again, there is nothing to that situation. I mean, law enforcement.
So again, if this was just like, let's say this was just like a friend of Katie's that she knew, and they're like, she's just like, this lady was maybe at, because we know there's like other establishments, there's other parking lots, and maybe this lady just happened, recognize Katie's car and was like, oh, hey, Katie's here. I'm going to say hi to them, and it's a friend. Why couldn't Chris just say, hey, look, this was just, a friend of Katie's that, was just happened to see her, and they chatted for a second, and then she went and used the restroom, and she went back to her vehicle, just happened to be across, or, oh, this is a homeless person that just happened to ask for some money or something. No something simple, innocent explanation. The fact that he disregards it, but not only that, then he goes on to say, it's almost like I'm paraphrasing here. In my opinion, it feels like he's saying, nothing to see here. And I'll just play that last little clip one more time, and we'll move on to the next section.
They've been able to answer all their questions. And once again, there is nothing to that situation. I mean, law enforcement even put out a statement. Has nothing to do with it. Has nothing.
Right.
No, that would be the result of, Seth being so vocal. So
let me just remind you what she said before, because this is what I would expect
So far,
someone
we
to
haven't
say.
found him on any camera footage to prove where he's at or where he's gone. I know that they're looking, and I'm asking everybody and anybody that has cameras, trail cams, stores, to check even from before he went missing, just to see if there's anything at all.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing. And you would think if, again, this is why there's just so many like little red flags that just keep building up, and you just keep stacking and stacking and building, it just don't look good. And again, it's not like, like when this case started, it's like, I want to go after them. I don't like them. I am just going what the evidence that we have and where that, applies to what's going on and is there red flags. And there's tons. In my opinion, anyway. There's one more thing I was gonna say about that, but then I started reading chat, and I think yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this, Marlene. So I noticed this has been a big topic a lot of people have been talking about lately. And I'm just gonna cover this quickly, and then we're gonna get to the lights, the 3D scanner, and the back door and locks. So yeah, some people have noticed and been covering this, and it is kind of interesting. When you do, and it's really hard to find when you look up, and you have to really go to like the first few days that he went missing to really find where it says the 25th. But when you look on Sheriff County Sheriff's Office and a few others, they say basically this right here. Last seen, now this one adds the 10 p.m., but really it said last seen on 2/25 Central Time at his residence. Last seen wearing black sweats and sweatshirt. And I think it even said like the street, or maybe that's the other one. But the main thing is it's at 2:25, right? And I could only find the Namus one because I was doing some other stuff. But then what's weird is I'm not sure when. I just didn't have enough time to research it and find like the source when it happened. But then all of a sudden, if you look it up, and main thing, if you look it up now, almost 99% when you look up like, when he disappeared, it now says, or has been saying, that he's been missing since February 26th. He was last seen, and what's interesting is last seen on February 26th. Remember, he was technically last seen by his mother, like it said in that one before, at around 9 or 10 p.m., when she put him to bed. But then you have all these others now that say February 26th, and it even says last seen in the area of Stafford Court, which is just really weird. Like, how, how'd they get to that? Who saw him? What saw him? Again, is it just something where it's just kind of looking too much into it, and it just maybe, a few people use the 25th, and then for the most part, it just, like, another source uses the 26th, and then just everybody carbon copied from there, and now it's just been the most carbon copied thing is February 26th. But it's interesting that it even not only says February 26th, but also even goes on to say last seen in the area of Stafford Court, which is the road, that the house is on. You have Kellen Avenue and you have Stafford Court. So really odd, and I agree. People have done videos on it, and, I could give people some ideas on how to research it if anybody ever wants to kind of look and doesn't know, maybe on some tips on how to use Google. If you ever want to get to a specific date, because if you just look something up, it's going to pull up the newest stuff. But if there's a specific date that you just want to look from or behind, all you have to do is just put in before. If you just Google how to look up dates or before and after, it it'll literally cut everything out between or after that date. Actually, the year is wrong, but anyway, I know that's probably hard to see. But anyway, you just put before colon and then year, month, date, and then whatever before that, and then anyway, just a tip if anybody wants to research that, because I wish I had more time to look that up because it is kind of fascinating. But we move on. Yeah, again, Laura, maybe that's where they came. That's where maybe where everybody maybe wanted to carbon copy from it, and that could be the case, Laura. But at the very least, it is weird because when you first look it up, it does say 25th, and then maybe I don't know if it because of the February FBI poster or what, and then it just people carbon copied it. But it was a little strange. Okay. Now moving on to the lights. So I found some new stuff thanks to those investigators, that try to put out this weird narrative that they're garbage truck lights, and and of course I've covered this, in my opinion, to death. But again, the more I've kind of taken a break from the lights and recently just kind of came back to them, and I was looking at their work again, and again, I really kind of want to move on away from them because, again, I try to stay in my lane. I don't like to attack other creators or anything, but, I of course, I was not happy that, knowing what I know, that they're trying to put out a false narrative that would kind of ticks me off, because really you're trying to put out, false facts. And like my channel, again, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, but I'm not going to fool my viewers, to try to promote an opinion that I believe in. I want to give you guys what I think is the facts and then speculate on that. And then you guys can, take what you want, look at it, do your own research and come to your conclusion. But, anyway, sorry, I'm just reading chat for a second here. Yeah, it shows a bunch of different stuff. Depending on what you look at, sometimes it might say like, and I think actually when you say Stafford and Beach, that's weird. It is. It's strange that, because really the last person to see him is the mother, allegedly around 9 or 10 p.m., right? So, let's see what time it is, because I want to, there's a bunch of things that I've got for you guys. All right. So, after the first week, they really searched hard. As a matter of fact, I was watching another channel. I'm not going to name the name because I want to put them in a hot spot. But, they went out there and searched. Helped in search, I think, those early days. They were even searching for Riley Strain as well. And now they're at the conclusion, like, they've seen the data as far as how much activity, how much area has been searched. We've seen the data of their, interactive screen that shows what they have searched. And I think it's 5-mile radius, more or less, that they have searched. And you name it, they have done it. Spelunking, air, ground, water, they've done it all, and not a single trace of this poor kid, which leads me to believe that it's likely he didn't walk off. So then we have, this is what I wanted to show right here. So then they searched the landfill in Kentucky, which is the landfill, just to make sure, because so I think people are asking about, this is the landfill that, comes from their garbage, waste management company, and that's where it goes. And that was Thursday, March 7th, so that's about a week and a half, 2 weeks in. Then we learned that, he allegedly he didn't have his shoes, so he either went with his socks, but yet he grabbed a flashlight, but he didn't grab a coat, didn't have keys, didn't have a cell phone. Then on March 14th, is when the lights video, I think, first emerges, according to this timeline. Now, then we have the video of Chronicles Olivia. So I went and I did a little research on that, because I promise I'll get to a couple of big points that I haven't touched on. Well, kind of touched on before, but so remember that date. So Thursday, March 14th,
Flashlight.
March 18th, Chronicles of Olivia
Flashlights.
releases this video. Now, I'm assuming she probably did the interview at the very least a day before, because, you got to do editing and you got to put the music in. So I'm assuming at the very least this was maybe filmed on the 15th or 16th, or the 17th, because it's released on the 18th. So, at least a day or two before it was released, I'm assuming.
The night he disappeared, is there anything...
But remember, the Lights video has just come out by Nick Beres.
that you think about this video, or...
Sure. So, there's a lot of speculations about that video that are floating on the internet. Okay? And that is exactly what it is. It's speculations. Now, what I can give you an official statement on is TBI Newslink has released a statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over.
Now, I know I've played this before, but I just want to play this one more time, because I want to make a point here in just a second. But let's, again, just one more time.
That statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over that everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one, it's not. I'm not going to go into details as far as where that video is shot from.
And why wouldn't you do that? That, to me, that's just a red flag. Now, if this was an abduction, an outside abduction, now that would make sense. They're like, okay, you know what? It's early days of investigation. They have this light video and this mysterious card that they can't really make out. And they believe, they're believing in the parents, and thinking maybe, he was abducted, but, obviously they don't really want to release the car thing anyway, but maybe the flashlights. But yeah, if it was an outside abduction, that would make sense. You probably want to, of course, you don't want to release that and spook the abductors, because it could still be alive, right? That would make sense early on.
What I can tell you, as the parents, we have seen the video firsthand from law enforcement. We know exactly where it was taken from, and nothing that is being assumed right now is actually true about that video, unfortunately.
Okay.
And anything about any other videos or anything like that?
Now, what I'm playing is thanks to a certain investigator who released, some footage from down the street at 5:09, almost 5:10, which shows the garbage truck, and we can clearly see. So I'm just going to turn the volume down for a second. We can clearly see the difference between a garbage truck and its lights. Not to count the fact that, does anything in here resemble this garbage truck? Anything at all? Absolutely not. And of course, then, the time of day. We know this is taken much earlier. It's not taken at 5, when the sun's barely starting to come up. You can clearly see the skyline, and with a video like this, depending on the lighting around the surveillance video, I think especially with that surveillance video, with how dark it is, because this area here, notice how it's got like lights pointing towards us and stuff. it would almost kind of obscure the brightness of the skybox, if that makes sense, because you've got a bunch of light pollution kind of point towards your camera that could offset your skyline and what's in your camera view of, but when you don't have lights facing you, you're going to be able to tell the lighting of the surrounding area probably a lot better, in my opinion. And you would know the difference between, 5 a.m. and 3 a.m. Again. But if it was an outside abduction, again, I would understand in the early days you would want to keep this close to the vest and you wouldn't want this released because, there could be a chance that he's still alive and they don't want to spook the abductors. But then months and months go by. Why wouldn't they? And this is what I think was going to happen. And we'll listen to Nick Beres, and I think even what he says, I think they were thinking that this could have been two scenarios. Maybe possibly that it shows Sebastian walking with a flashlight. I do think I do believe in that theory that the whole flashlight thing, it's so odd that, he doesn't take his shoes, he doesn't take a coat, he doesn't take his cell phone, he doesn't take keys, but he takes a keychain flashlight out of all the stuff. He takes the flashlight. I think they were trying to maybe cover their butt and just didn't realize the camera angle of that particular camera and didn't realize it was going to pick up as much as it did. And anyway, so we're going to get into this device in a minute. This is on my thumbnail. If anybody in the chat knows exactly what this is, I'm about like 80% sure what this is. I'm not 100%. I'm just going to say right now. But if anybody, law enforcement in chat, knows what this is, I'm pretty sure I know what this is. And we'll talk about it here in a second. And we'll show where they're standing. So this picture is taken in the backyard of the Proudfoots. You can see the photo, and I'll do a photo overlay. They're standing right there. So as you can see, they are standing. So the yards, both yards. So here's the backyard of the Proudfoots on the right, and then across this, sharing the same backyard. They both each have a fenced off square area, and they're kind of standing in between two of the fences. There's kind of like a walkway between the two fences, I think. I'm not sure how wide it is. But they have this machine here that's set up. And, yep, Johnny's got it. Forensic camera. Yep. No, it's not geofencing. Geofencing's done just, I think they just get a thing from Google and then they get a bunch of data, a data dump. This isn't related to phone data, so there's no confusion about that. That's not geofencing. But just show you guys where they're at. Now this is a small clip. So remember how I showed you guys how you can look up if you want to research something and say you don't want to pull a bunch of dates because, when you look up Sebastian Rogers and maybe you want to find a certain interview and you're having trouble finding it, but it was maybe in this month, then you can use that tactic that I showed you earlier where you just put in Sebastian Rogers and then this part here, before, year, date, day. I looked through all the news footage. I could not find that photo, and it's actually a short clip. It doesn't appear until Court TV uses it almost a month or two in. But I looked through the first week. Now I could have missed something, but I didn't see a single shot of him. So that tells me they probably came back at some point, in my opinion, and did this. And let me just show you from a top-down view where we're at. This is Sebastian's home right here. This is the backyard. They are standing between the two backyards. So if you see these trees, they're almost like in a rectangle. Then we have the square fence. there's like this portion between the fences, that separate them, the two backyards. So they are, of course, standing about right here, and they have that machine, which appears to be pointed basically south. Now, why? Jude says that pic was taken. It could be. I could have missed it. I don't know what they would be using that thing on, like the first couple days, unless they likely got a hold of some footage, saw some weird moving lights, and now they need to do measurements. Is my theory. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that device, again, there's two things I could think it is. I'm more leaning towards the one, and I'll show you guys here in a minute.
We begin with a surprising development in the search for 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers, who's been missing for 18 days.
That was done before Lamp Hill
An
search.
exclusive look at new video evidence. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Rory Johnson.
Interesting.
And I'm Hunter Hoagland. A lot to get to here tonight. Authorities have scrutinized home security
True.
video from that Hendersonville neighborhood,
True.
trying to learn what happened to that teen with autism.
Now you can take a look for yourself. Our Nick Beres obtained video that appears to show two people near Sebastian's home the night his parents say he disappeared.
The video you're about to see is from early Monday morning, February 20th.
Now, I know I've played this clip a bunch of times. I just played a short part, the first part of this, because I just want to kind of really nail this in for certain people that just, are going to try to play this off as nothing. But what I think likely, in my opinion, this is one of my theories on the lights, is I think that, of course, he got a hold of some footage. Nick Beres did, then spoke. Well, let's play the clip first, and then I'll talk
10
about it.
a.m. Now, there are no street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood, so it is at night pitch black. What you will see here,
pitch black,
are these 2 points of light believed to be people with flashlights in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing...
And I even think that was in the first day or two, that clip right there from Craddock. I'm pretty sure that was day 3, maybe, within the first few days. So, which tells me they saw this.
Signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home.
Pointed towards the back of Sebastian's home. And I know I've played this clip before, but I just kind of want to drive it home for those certain people that are just
in a comment.
And I'm going to back this up again. Like I said, I could debunk that group of people all day long. And again, I found something that they showed that, God bless their souls. I will show you another thing that I discovered.
An area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then, subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later, and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is...
And we're gonna look at that clip later on. That'll be kind of my finale, but I promise you, I've got some very interesting stuff that's going to come up here in a second.
There's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is significant.
In the area around Sebastian's home is significant. Tell me more, Nick. Please tell me more.
This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian?
See how what he said there, see, he's like, could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? And I think, this is just one of my theories, is that the whole flashlight, because like I said earlier, what are the odds out of all the things, he forgot to take that would be much more important, like shoes. I know he's autistic, but he's still a smart kid. I doubt he would, so I really think that, in my opinion, that flashlight I would lean more towards something that's like staged. And I think that they may anticipated a light being shown, but didn't realize that there was going to be two subjects, if that makes sense. I think they were only anticipating maybe one subject to be caught on one of these cameras, and that way they could play it off as, well, there's Sebastian, walking with the flashlight, right? Would make sense. There's a light moving around. There we have, we have our thing, and now we can, run with that. And even I think law enforcement may have, been like, and that's why like Nick Beres was speaking to them. And like, yeah, maybe this is just him wandering off, and now maybe we need to release this.
Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son would not go with a stranger.
It's up in the air for me because I don't think he would get into a vehicle with somebody unless he knew them.
Okay, and then what did he just say there? Get into a vehicle. No one, again, nothing to get set. I'm just saying like, whoa, of course we, if you know. But, here's talking about getting into a vehicle. Now, that could be just the broader picture of, if you wandered off and got in somebody's car, which, again, you still have to say there's still a percentage of anything could have happened. But with the evidence that we do have, there's just so many red flags that point to one, more or less one or two scenarios, in my opinion.
So what exactly are we seeing here? I know investigators are doing what they can to try enhancing the video for any more clues. For now, this video is now part of the Sebastian Rogers missing person file, and I'm told it could become more significant depending on where the ongoing investigation leads. We'll be following that. Nick Beres, News Channel 5.
Thanks.
So, you just heard what you said. Could be huge. They're a huge, big piece of evidence. Now, this is what in my opinion, just add on to that theory, is that now the flashlight doesn't work because there's multiple subjects. And then as they research it more, and in my opinion, especially if it was an inside job, they didn't realize that camera was facing that particular field of view, and that car was going to be caught on the camera. So now you have a car that's, that you can't really make out, but it's clearly there. Now, if it was an outside abduction, I would understand if they waited, weeks, maybe a month or two, because again, they don't want to give out those details about a car being caught on camera and spook these guys. But we're now almost going to reach the anniversary. I think after a month, I don't know, maybe somebody that's law enforcement in the chat could kind of elaborate. I would think after a month at best, if you have that footage and you knew it was like an outside abduction, I would think you would release that, because at this point you've done, clearly after a month, I think you've kind of exhausted all your main leads, and now your public's your best help. So if it's an outside abduction, I would think, boom, they would get this out, try to, get that car out there, show the public, do an enhance, because I'm sure they can, because what we have is a second generation video, and I know that you can see the car much better, probably captured on other cameras as well. So if it was an outside abduction and they couldn't figure it out after a month or two, but I think a month would be like, you know what, we need to ask for the public's help. But if it was an inside abduction, well, now we don't want to spook the ones responsible if we're now looking inwards, right? Because that's not really going to help. If we show our cards and we know this vehicle, right? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the chat. But
Nick, of course, the search for Sebastian continues, with detectives now looking into any possibility of foul play. If you think you can...
All right, let's talk about this device. I've got three main things to still go over. I promise I've got a big one for you guys. I thought it was coming up here. Should be. I think it's right after this. Can't remember if I put it before or after this part. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm so glad that I found this. As I was working on my video today, I'm like, oh my God. God bless you guys. God bless you guys. As you know, I've been debunking the hell out of these guys. Again, I wasn't happy because I've spoken to some of these people and they know where these cameras are pointed. They know the field of view, but the fact that they were going to try to put out this false narrative, and maybe there's a percentage chance they don't. I really don't think that's the case because they're working with the parents, at least some of them. And we know that the parents have to know where that camera footage is because we know Chris Proudfoot said that. I don't think that you would have 4 different agencies studying the same video how many times over, Chris's words, and then be shown that footage and they not know where the hell that footage is from. Because, of course, they snagged this footage. They would have daytime footage of it so they could definitely clearly see, they'd go back, the day before and see, oh, okay, yep, we can see this much area. So they know the field of view, so they knew where it was pointed. Clearly, Nick Beres found that out when he spoke to the family. They know where this is pointing. Anyway, as I was working on some stuff, I came across something and holy shit, thanks to them, I literally in their screenshot they play a short clip, of course I thought it was interesting. They didn't show much from all this investigation that they did. They showed just very little. But of course I've just torn it apart, but I found out the source of lights. They're in here. They're in their footage. God bless them. God bless them. So here we go. So I am going to show you guys what I discovered today. And I was like, well, holy shit. There's the lights. Okay. So let me do, so you get the full picture here. Oh, I think it's in this other one here. 1 second here. So you guys get the full picture. Okay. Nope. Wrong one. Yep, there it is. Okay. All right. So as we know, this is a screenshot from their stuff, right? Now, here's where they were trying to claim, and of course I've put out 2 debunk videos plus some extra stuff. Every time, I go into it, like I said, I could spend another month finding stuff to debunk. But as I was just kind of looking at this and listening to some things, because I'm trying to multitask, I'm like, holy shit, there's the lights. I see them. I found them. And guess what? They're right here. These lights, and I will show you guys here in just a minute, are the lights. And guess where that's pointed at? That is pointed at the home across the street. Now, here's me zooming those lights in. And I'll zoom in even more. But notice, you see 2 balls of light almost. They're almost like 2 balls of light. And then you have something over here. Now, it's kind of dark, so I apologize. The bottom half is a zoomed in version of the original footage with the floodlights, or as they call them, the landscape lights, which, most have 300 lumen. Floodlights go up to 1600 to 4000 lumen. That's why we can see these lights. Anyway, but if you look and zoom in, and then you'll notice there's actually 2 dots almost. And if you zoom in on this one, they're almost 2 dots. And if you see, it almost curves down. in the same fashion that these ones do. The only difference is we don't have this light, but we can see that there's something like a tree blocking it. So that is where the light sources come from, but unfortunately, whatever, maybe a tree branch is blocking, but you can see that you've got the two balls of light, and that is like, if I had more time, I would even do some more lineup shots for you guys. But that is where those lights are coming from. It's just something is blocking. You can even see the shadow blocking the secondary light on the left. But yeah, you can see the two balls of light. And I didn't even really realize that until I looked at this one, theirs. I'm like, holy shit. So, thanks to that team. Didn't the garbage weigh more that day? I've heard that, if that's true or not, what set them on the landfill search, I don't know. I do remember hearing that, but again, there could be other factors. But yeah. Anyway, again, I've got debunk videos if you'd like to check them out. If you don't believe those lights are coming from where I claim they are, please check out the debunk videos. But anyway, let's look at this machine real quick. Now, again, if there's law enforcement that knows 100%, it could let me know in chat. Mods could get my attention. I am leaning 80% that this is some kind of 3D scanner. I'm not 100% sure, so I just want to reiterate that.
Crime scenes and vehicle crash investigations take skill,
show you what these are
diligence,
used
and
for.
attention to detail. They also take high-tech assistance. That's why the St. Charles County Police Department recently invested in a 3D scanner for use by crime scene investigators. The scanner creates virtual multi-dimensional models of crime and accident scenes, serving as the ultimate documentation tool.
The scanner, it takes millions of points per scan. It takes photographs during the scans, and it creates just a great visual tool that we can use later on down the road in court proceedings. Juries would just love to see it.
At a scene, investigators position the scanner on a tripod.
So as you can see, I have the, thank you, Mizak. Yeah, I'm sure they were. Like I said, again, it's not something I like to do. I just like to stay in my lane and, do what I can on what I'm good at doing. But as you can see, why I lean more towards this could be a 3D scanner. No, yeah, this could be used for... Now, if this is a 3D scanner, you could just... They want to memorialize the scene, obviously, but it's very interesting that of all the places, this is in the backyard, which coincidentally, just like I said, we just keep adding on these little red flags. You just kind of keep building up. Green Hoodie, were they really cleared? Why did it take them 9.5 months? What is the whole interaction? This lady standing by her car, the lights video. We'll get more into this, but you can actually even see
a 360-degree line of sight scan
where the thing even like spins in the middle, which is a laser kind of camera. It spins and it's on a tripod and it has a 360 thing. I'm like I said, I'm like 80% sure. Might be a different model. But look at how it's almost exactly the same thing. I could be wrong.
It can be repositioned as necessary to capture other parts of the scene. Along with precise measurements, the scanner provides a blueprint of the space,
it's insane what they can do with this.
Fly-through model of the scene, and panoramic photographs. After leaving the scene, investigators can view the footage on a computer to re-examine details.
We'll use our scanner on any major scene, homicides, vehicle crash investigations, anything that
pretty cool.
They may go back and need to do a really detailed reconstruction of.
The equipment offers expanding capabilities that will be used in the future, including virtual reality goggles that allow those investigating the case to walk through incident scenes. For more information about St. Charles County's Forensic Services Division, visit sccmo.org.
So it's as if you're just put on VR, and you're just walking through the crime scene that has been memorialized by, all this amazing technology. Again, I'm not 100%, but man, that
/police.
device looks like a
Also, be sure
scanner.
to follow the St. Charles County Police Department on social media to learn more about the department, public safety, community.
And the fact that they're in the backyard of all places is just, again, just adds more to the, more weight to the cause. And I think this is, it leans towards an abduction. And then, of course, who's involved. Honestly, I don't care. I just want to find Sebastian. Again, at the end of the day, I just want to find Sebastian. Whoever's responsible, that's on them, and the people that may have been helping them, that's going to be on you. When this case will be solved, this, with today's technology, geofencing, the cameras that we have, the cameras that they had in this neighborhood, I think there's just one piece. I feel like this is almost kind of like the Delphi case, even though I know we'll get into that, but it's kind of like one of those cases or something else where it's just, they're waiting, one piece that they need, but again, you add the totality of these little red flags, and then the fact that, in my opinion, I really do think that if this was inside, that they tried to do the flashlight, they didn't realize that this camera was pointing towards the backyard, as much as it was, and it captured the two lights. And then the fact that they do this 3D scanner, allegedly, which, again, and at the very least, if it's not a 3D scanner, it's got to be something where they're measuring. If it's not a 3D scanner, I would say at the very least they're measuring something, because, it's on a tripod. And if that thing isn't the laser, then that's a level on it. But usually you have the levels on like your tripod. So I don't know why they would need a big one like on the machine. So again, so yeah, two more things, and I promise you this last one's a very interesting one that I discovered. So one thing I just want to go over on this lights video. I know I've gone over it a bunch. I'm just going to recap it. I'm not really going to dive much into it. I'm going to try to do like maybe a members live where I do a Q&A, and just anybody wants to ask me, to get a better understanding. But I just want to emphasize that what's in this video, we really can't make out because it's a second generation. Again, I think most of you know, but for anybody that doesn't know, this is somebody filming with their phone, most likely, a monitor that has the security footage, which means it's going to lose quality because you've got lighting from whatever room that you have on. If you were recording from a dark room, you would still lose quality either way, but you may probably have a better chance of seeing what you're trying to show. But the mere fact that it's a recording of a recording, you're going to lose stuff. Now, I've had some people email me, and I do appreciate everybody trying to look into, what I presented. But I can promise you that, because I've had people say, oh, well, I think I can see Chris Proudfoot, or I can see somebody's ponytail or this. And I say, I don't think you're going to be able to actually make out anybody in this footage. Actually, I would bet 99% you're not going to be able to make out anybody in this footage. Not at least with the footage that we have as the public, because it's just too far away. And I don't think there's anybody standing in this driveway. Our focus is over in the backyard, which is, 50 to 100 feet, maybe even more, where all this activity is going on. So you're not going to be able to make out anything with what we have. So, because I've had some people say, oh, I think I see him, remember there's the ruckus video where they thought under these floodlights, there's a bunch of stuff going on. And I kind of did a little debunk video saying like, well, if these are people, then they're freaking giants, because they'd have to be as big as a tree to cast these shadows. So, again, I'm not going to feed you guys with misinformation. just to support, my beliefs. I want to give you guys what I feel is the practical evidence, the little that we have, and then take it from there. So 2 more things I want to go over. The other thing that I want to explain, and like I said, I'll have to do a Q&A. Now, as you guys know, I've done the overlay a bunch of times. And one thing I just want to reiterate, because I'm kind of forgetting that I keep getting new viewers, and they're kind of seeing this for the first time. And so I kind of want to explain something. You got to remember that this camera, the security camera, the way it was pointed in a way. Let's see. I'm trying to do this. It's hard when you're. Yeah. That looks so stupid. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm trying. So it's pointed, angled down, right? At an angle. But the main thing is it's pointed at down, right? It's not straight. It's not straight. It's not completely down, but it's at an angle. So what that does is, as you can see, my screen here is flipped, right? And also the camera itself is elevated 10 to 12 feet high, right? So it's hooked up on the garage, right? So when I do an overlay, the camera that I'm overlaying is straight, right? And I'm overlaying footage that also has footage that's angled down. So what happens is even though I'll line up the floodlights on where I believe they're at as my anchor, you'll notice that the lights that move across diagonally, they're kind of high up, See that it's like, wow, that'd be kind of high for them. Remember, because this backdrop that I'm using as a reference point of where the stuff's going on, since it's not angled down, you're going to get a discrepancy on where stuff's moving, right? It's just kind of basic physics and lights and cameras, angles, measurements, all that. So keep that in mind, because if you line that up, you're going to have the line kind of moving up a little bit higher, but that's only because one of the shots is straight on, the other one's angled down, which of course I harped on when they did their reenactment, because the main thing that they had to do is just pick one specific angle. It wasn't very hard, but of course, I think they were trying to put out a narrative. So anyway, I apologize, but I really wanted to explain that because
is not quite love shows the potential of.
So let me play this so I can get to chat for a second, and then I promise you I got 2 last things to go over.
Clear that they are taking
Mainly,
the same exact path. According to my overlay, Chris Proudfoot, and what the neighbors have mentioned, they all line up. Is this just some crazy coincidence?
Thank you, Forever
I believe
Nikki.
not.
The 2 last things we're going to go over. We're going to go over the back door, and I'm going to show you something wild. And we're going to go over why the lights, and I'm going to, when it comes, if this doesn't get solved by, or unless we don't get snow, I may go back out and do another recreation and show you guys something. But anyway, let me play this, get to chat for a second, and then two big things.
It cuts diagonally to the house next door to us through their backyard. And then
that is no coincidence, in my opinion. No coincidence. They track diagonally. Then they had 5 dogs that split off, went one way. 3 dogs that split off went the other way. Now they had a bunch of other dogs that apparently just didn't get anything, and I think that's why they didn't have any conclusive results, because they had a bunch of different dogs, and some went one way and then some went the other way, and then others just didn't go anywhere, I guess. And so that's why they just say there was no scent, I'm assuming, just to try not to confuse. I don't know. But I really think that very first part is them, because the way they moved, they said they tracked him to the front yard almost, because remember, Katie says that he took the trash out. And that makes sense. You would track him to the front yard, almost where the garbage can would be put out. Then you come back, and then you go diagonally through the backyard. Remember, keyword diagonally. Forever Nikki, thank you so much for becoming a member. Debbie, God bless you. Thank you so much for the membership. Blessings. Say that 10 times fast. Thank you so much for the membership. Jilly, thank you, Chris, and Mob Group family. God bless you. Thank you so much. Rachel, I think I got yours. Debbie, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. God bless you. Leah Cash, good to see you. Thank you so much for the support. NJ's gifted a Mob Crew membership. That is so awesome. Thank you so much, NJ's. Same with Sensei. Happy New Year's. Thank you so much for your amazing work. Didn't the garbage can? Okay, I think we answered that. Thank you, DJ. Ginger Bell, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Honestly Me, thank you so much for the $4.99. And Lakeside Lawyer, it's a great name. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Thank you guys so much for the support. All right, last two things here. Okay, so in my last live, I finally figured out, the order of the videos, which I'm working on a video, like a short video, so it's not a live. That's going to have just a bunch of information, but, it's not like an hour and a half long. It's going to be like maybe a 10 to 15 minute video, just doing the lights, put them all in order, kind of putting a few things out maybe I haven't talked about before that I can think of. So people can go back and reference that. But, I recently kind of discovered that, how did they get subject 1 and subject 2? If you missed my last live, that's what I went over. Basically, in a nutshell, is I finally figured out all the orders because there's technically... Technically, there's 4.5, maybe 5 videos, but mainly 4. And anyway, the subject 1, how they came up with subject 1 is because it's actually the first light that comes out and then sits there. And then subject 2 comes out, and then moves across. But subject 1 is the first light. That's why it's labeled 1, and it's on the right, is because it comes out first. And then subject 2 comes out. And then I think, in my opinion, subject 1 is almost kind of like the spotter, because the fact that we kind of see them, and in my opinion, they're kind of standing, and that's the one that I have circled right there. To me, that's the scout. I call it the scout. That's subject 1. And where they're positioned is in a very interesting spot. It's almost like they're positioned between the home that's looking towards the camera, where the car's going to be at, and where they can see Kellen Road. And to me, so they're kind of keeping an eye on the two areas. So as you can see, subject 1 is still there, even when the car arrives. So in my opinion, that's like the scout. And then subject 2, in my opinion, is likely the one that's either could be carrying Sebastian or just had, again, I can only get off what the lights, show us. We can only speculate from there. But, I don't know what car is going to be sitting there at that particular spot with its lights off. There's no driveway, unless it was literally for this house. That would only make the only sense. Because the house that's over to the right, they clearly have a big driveway that this car could have pulled into. So it makes no sense that this car's sitting there. And then why would you have your lights off? I mean, how sus is that? You're just going to have your lights off after you just had a few lights scroll across. I mean, and then you kick on your lights as if, in my opinion, what they're going to do next is they're going to back up because they're now putting they've either put this person in the car or they're going to back up. I'm not sure what this whole car thing was for, other than possibly to transport potentially Sebastian. All right. So
light source is covered or obscured.
Last point, and then I'm going to get to the locks. But I want to show you the speed of this. This is very interesting. This is also another way that we can tell kind of the direction, in my opinion, just going off basic, light behavior. And again, this is why I'll hopefully I can do another test for you guys.
And that is it. I know there's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is
significant. Okay. This is the final part. This is the person leaving on the top of the screen, right? Notice two things. The speed and how much we actually see the light. Now at the bottom is subject to coming. Notice we see the light very, obviously it's not obstructed until it's, going between, the bushes and the maybe through the ditch. But notice we see the light have a few fades as if maybe it's going through a tree. But for the most part, we see the light, right? We see the light pretty good. But which tells me that it's a good chance that they're not only just walking like one side, but they're actually walking diagonally. That's why we see the light so well. And then if we look at when it's leaving, it's almost like you can barely see the light, as if it's running diagonally away from us, which then the person would be obscuring the light source from the camera. On top of that, how fast it goes back is just bizarre. One more time. This is slowed down. The top one is slowed down. This is the person allegedly leaving, going back to the home. And the bottom screen is normal time speed of the person coming towards subject one. This one slowed down immensely. Notice we can barely see it. It just pops in and out. We'll probably see it one or two more times here. Yep, and it's gone. I mean, that is wild. Very fishy. All right. One last point on the lights, and then I'll get to the locks, and then we'll finish up, and then we'll try to get some questions. That's funny. If you go back to these, try video and zoom in on black card and white SUV, you can see the driver. Also the white truck across the street, you can see the reflection from the window, allegedly. The Texas Roadhouse. I'm assuming you're trying to say Texas Roadhouse. White SUV, you can see the driver. Yeah, I've been meaning to do one more video. Okay, thank you, Lexi. Okay. All right, we're going to get to the last topic, but I just want to, one more time, I just want to drive this fact in. There was a content creator. I'm not going to mention the creator's name because I'm not a huge fan. GH Investigates. I'm sure you guys know who that is. He did a video on it. Actually, he did a video doing the lights and trying to debunk. And he goes on, he does a video, and he even says that he spoke with Chris for about an hour. And that he told him where the lights were coming from, and he told him that it was coming from up here from Honeysickle Drive. This is like a couple months. I'm not sure exact. Someone probably in chat could tell me, but I think it's like, let's see, went missing March. I think this was like done in April, maybe. Somewhere around in there. Either way, the fact that not only one creator, GH Investigates, was told by Edgar, CP, where the alleged lights were coming from, even though he knows, trust me, they know where those lights are coming from, the direction. They know where this camera was pointed. They were literally told that all these agencies that studied the lights. Why in the hell would he tell him that this is garbage truck lights and they're coming up over here? Again, like I've said a couple times before, like as a magician where it's like, hey, don't look to the right, just look at my hand, that's waving. Don't look at what I'm doing with my right hand pocket. So not only did they do that once with one creator, where they tried to, even though they knew where the lights, instead of just leaving that alone and just like, hey, I'm not going to tell him, I'm just going to leave that alone. He literally feeds them this BS. And then you have this team that comes in, right? Recently that I had to debunk. And think about it. Where that these people know where these lights, where this camera is pointed at. Yet they come in and have a team try to recreate it and claim and just coincidentally try to say that the field of view of the camera is not reaching this backyard. Once again, saying, please don't look over here. Nothing to see here. Why the hell would they do that? Right? God, I hope my chat didn't freeze up. I haven't seen it move for a second. Somebody put a 1 in chat. I don't know. My chat's working. Okay. But again, let me know if do you disagree or if you have any thoughts. But why? You have GH Investigates. Supposedly he says he spoke to Chris for an hour, explaining where all this was. Why would they do that? Again, it makes no damn sense. And then you have a team that is allegedly hired. We know, most likely hired, allegedly. I still have to use allegedly. And they're still now going to try to put this out. That raises more red flags. Instead of just, like, hey, we're not even going to touch that. We're going to leave that away. We're not going to go there because that's important to the investigation. And let's just, especially if it's outside abduction. And again, this would all make sense if this was like the first few weeks, even up to a month and a half. But I would think after you get to that point, and this was an outside abduction, and you're sitting on this footage, and you likely have a much better picture of the car. You probably don't know what, it's probably missing something on it that it can't be identified, or who knows. Why wouldn't you put that out to the public? We are almost at 1 year anniversary. I mean, I get it. If you're waiting a couple weeks because, if he's like alive being held somewhere and you don't want to risk his safety, but we're almost a year out, man. Like, if there was a time for them to put stuff out, and that's the reason why I think, like, the only reason you would still hold on to it is if it was an inside job. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that's what's going on. But my goodness, man. Last topic. And again, thank you. We've had 2,000 people in here. I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys are truly amazing. You can tell how many people, again, this is not just me. You guys really drive me, support me. This is really a community effort. But let's go over the last topic here, and then we'll finish up. So, as you know, they have footage that's looking at the Proudfoot home, which, to my opinion, is huge, right? Because really, he's only got two main ways he's leaving, right? Front door, back door. I don't know if you can get into the crawl space out that crawl door from inside the house. I don't know if there's, if that's only just to get, because I know that goes under the house. For anybody that doesn't know, that little door that you see on the right, that's kind of towards the backyard. That's like a door that goes under, I believe, under the crawl space, maybe for insulation or whatever, pipes, whatever. I don't know if there's like I guess what you call a trap door that would, let you down in there. I mean, there could be. Maybe Unearth. Unearth, do you recognize this? Sorry to put you on the spot. And if anybody in the chat put it, I'm sorry if I did miss it. I mean, that looks like a 3D scanner to me. I even zoom it. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. She might know. I mean, that looks really close to... Sorry, I'm going to get to the locks here in just a second. Oh, shoot. Oh, it's just a video. Anyway. But that really, I mean, that looks like the thing. Because the only thing I could think that thing in the middle would be a level, the green thing. God, I can't think of the name of it. But, the level. But that's way too big for, with the green liquid. That's just way too big. Really, that looks like the thing that spins around on it. And then you can see where this thing, the way it comes through the tripod like that, as if it's going to do a 360 turn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a 3D scanner, but yeah, see, that's where I was stuck on. And 3D seems right. Yeah, so I don't want to say 100% it's a 3D scanner because there's a possibility it could be. But either way, either one really is a huge red flag. Because even if it was just, say, a laser pointer, what the hell are they measuring that's pointed towards the camera, that's pointed back towards them, where the lights are coming from? Just, another strange coincidence. But I'm pretty sure it's a 3D scanner. Okay, last thing. Yeah, it looks like a scanner to me. Yeah. Yeah, because I know I know that there's a couple that are close, but man, that thing in the middle, that's definitely not a level, because it's just too big. Anyway. Okay. Last point to get on. So as I talked about in my previous live, a certain team released screenshots. I would love for them to release the footage. I mean, if you really want to help find Sebastian, if you think he might have ran away, why not release from like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m.? I don't see why that wouldn't hurt. Just saying, like we're almost at a year. I would think, the public's your best. When it comes to surveillance footage and stuff like that, public is great. They're, people can easily miss stuff, and there could be something that, you miss that the public might catch. Okay. Last point. This is inside the home. Now, I just want to reiterate, this is not the current conditions of the home. This is from Zillow, which anybody can look up Zillow. And as a matter of fact, Court TV's taken some photos from Zillow. I've seen a certain content creator go flip out on another content creator because they're like, oh, God, look, they're showing the inside of Proudfoot's home. And, oh, how disgusting is that? And it's like, you can find that on Zillow. I mean, anybody can find it. Anyway, so we can see that clearly this is before the Proudfoots. Now, remember, they say that they have a lock that has the keypad, so I'm assuming this lock is not accurate, but what I want to show is the back one, because I really don't think he went out the front, because you have the lights, right? You have the lights here on the left side of the house, and you have the lights on the right side of the house. To me, if he came out, obviously you'd have to take this garbage truck away. If he's wandering either way, I mean, he's only got 3 directions really to go. Go towards the camera, this way or that way. And you're likely going to see something disturb the light source. Not saying he couldn't sneak past it, but again, so I would lean towards the likely scenario of him going out the back. But what's interesting, we look at the back door. Now, they have, I forget what it's called, but they have like an extended part, which has another door past it that's really just looks like more like, kind of acts like a screen door. But they have this door. But if you notice, now again, remember, this is before they took the home over. So they could have changed the locks. But even if they changed this one to the keypad, if this one, I guess it depends on the lock. Again, there's still a lot of variables to play out here. But if this is the one, which it does look like the one where you have to turn to lock it, remember, he didn't have any keys and everything was allegedly locked up. How would he be able to get out and lock both of them? Again, I'm not even sure, because I think Katie in one interview says, she kind of says we have the keypad locks. I'm paraphrasing here. And she says it in a plural manner. And then I've heard people tell me that they've said the other way when it comes to the back door, that it's not the same. It's just a keypad lock. I don't know. Sorry, I got something in my eye. But it'd be very interesting to know if this is what the setup is. Because how the hell would he be able to lock, especially both of them? I know some of them you can turn it. You can open up the door, you twist it, pre-lock it, and then shut it. You could lock it. But if you got two of them, especially if it's still just a deadbolt, well, you would need a key to lock that up, right? Oh, thank you, Sandy. Okay. I'll have to listen to it. But like I said, I don't know what they have. So again, don't take this, what I'm showing you, that doesn't mean that's what they have right now. Because again, we look at the front door, I'm pretty sure that's changed. So, and again, this isn't their current status. Plus, they're not even there, I think somebody shows up once in a while to maybe, I don't know, probably grab the mail and, and all that. But as far as I know, they haven't been there for a long time, which again, which also excludes the whole outside abduction, because if you knew there was an outside abduction and you knew there was a chance your child's coming home, wouldn't you want to be there for when the team comes in and rescues him? And so you've got his room already. You know how mothers are, they're very particular, when it comes to their missing children or children that have been sadly taken from them, they're very particular about their child's bedroom. But nope, they're gone. Again, now does that make them guilty? No. But again, it's just more red flags that you just kind of, little check marks that you just kind of keep adding on. So yes, I've heard, because I will be honest, I'm pretty sure in one of the Dutch's interviews, I'm not sure if it's the first or second one, Katie kind of says in a plural manner, she kind of says the main keypad locks or something like that. Now, maybe the way she says it doesn't refer to both. I don't know. But again, if that is the case and it is just a keypad lock, especially if it's like this, because I don't know why they would change, this whole entire door. I understand they're getting new locks, new keys, and stuff like that. But I don't know why you would really have. I understand the front door. Plus, you work for Brink Security. I don't know why you don't have cameras. I think they did, but they just probably didn't have them on. But again, that's just my opinion. But again, if this is the setup, then that's major red flags. Okay. Let me read chat for just a minute. That's not exactly and we'll finish up. But thank you guys so much.
Now, don't believe that 2 flashlights were observed
Thank you,
around
Kitty.
your home. Is that correct?
You're very correct.
2 flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
You're very correct.
And I hate these answers that he gives. Like I said, it's just like, it's not like I wake up one day, I'm like, oh, I just cannot wait to go for these people, and label them suspects or whatever. It's really, I want to find Sebastian and just, take the evidence that I have and see where that takes us. But it's like all these interviews that they've done, they don't do themselves any favors. It just doesn't add up with, like I said. And then what I wanted to end off with before we leave is, if you haven't seen it today, I think it either came out last night or this morning. Deception Detective put out a part 2 to his video that's about the elevated truth with Chris Proudfoot's recent video there. So I'm not going to play his video.
So here's my.
But 1 second, guys, and then hey, Deception Detective, if you're watching, I would try to put a popular list at the top. That is so nice when you have the popular videos at the top. Just a suggestion.
What do Chris Proudfoot?
But anyway, I love the Deception Detective. He does amazing work. He just really kind of just breaks down from his expertise, deception. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I love the stuff that he points out because it reflects on what I have experienced with other families. Again, I'm not an expert when working with families of missing. I've had just a few experiences, but the ones that I've had, when it comes to mothers and parents, they'll do anything to get on the news, YouTube channels, whatever, to get their story out there, their missing child's story out there. And they're always willing to ask anything, a lot of them like even theorize, 'cause that's another thing. We never hear like, what's your thoughts? Like, do you think he ran away or do you think he was abducted? They don't even really ever touch on that. And that bugs the hell out of me. Like, when you have, like, at the very least you think, okay, well, from our estimate, we think he went out the back door because there was no indication, from what we know from from Katie, Katie's experience of being in the house with her son and prior, times that maybe he went out and maybe there's something she noticed that she could tell that he went outside to play or something. I don't know, but again, so anyway, he just kind of goes over certain things that Chris says that, again, just pointing out red flags. He doesn't go directly after them, but he just kind of points at certain things that are in his skill set. And I think it's amazing. And it just, again, it kind of lines up with some things that I've said multiple times on this channel that I really enjoy. If the mods could maybe pin that, if not, I can do it at the end. But definitely check it out if you haven't. Yeah, he just put out a video a day ago. It's part 2. I think it's a part 2 to the interview with Elevated Truth. Pretty good. Canada says, I think it was organized, very intentional. I can tell you, everything I look at doesn't look good. One you know, some phone data, geofencing, vehicle data. Yeah, I can tell you vehicle data for sure. And yeah, I love the geofencing. Yep, totally agree. Thank you, Black Widow. Oh, you found it. Looks like a Matterport Pro 3 Lite. Oh, God bless you. Let's look that up. Oh, you are an angel. Matterport Pro 3 LiDAR scanner. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's it. That is it. That is most definitely it. Yeah, so it's got the laser. Yeah, so it's a 3D scanner. Because it's got where the laser spins. So you have it where you look through, and then on this side here in the middle, that's where the laser, and then it's on a tripod, and then it just scans around. Oh, God bless you. That's awesome. What is a Matterport? You got a video. Obviously, it's a 3D scanner. Yep. Again, why would they ask yourselves, why would they need to be doing a 3D scan of that particular area? God, thank you so much. That is so awesome, Carolyn from Unearthed Secrets. Why would they be out in this particular area scanning? Coincidentally, where the light activity was at. And I guarantee you they probably did more areas, probably down over here as well. Which is good. Because there might be some footprints, because they, with those scanners, remember it was February, I think it rained on the February 27th. I don't know what day they did that. Clearly it was pretty early, first couple days. I'm assuming it's right after they found the footage, in my opinion. Unfortunately, with them searching around, I don't know if they contaminated any possible footprints from the possible suspects that were back there moving around in this area. But, yeah, that's amazing. So again, that's what it can do. I mean, more or less. 3D reconstruction, amazing. So same kind of thing, just a different model, because that's Pharaoh. I think this one's a Pharaoh as well, just a different model version of it. That's awesome. All right, guys. I think I'm going to finish up there. I'm going to try to do... Well, and I'm sure it's going to be, well, why would you 3D scan just that area? Why would you 3D scan if it's just a runaway? I mean, why that area? I mean, you got to think about, this is where the abduction, if the abduction happened, it started from their back door, right? Started from the back door and went diagonally. So of course, they're going to scan that area. That's like the area that abduction, alleged abduction, I got to be careful, would have started. So of course, that is like the hot spot of where everything is going on. So that's why they're going to scan that area. So again, like I said, you can, they're about right here. Proudfoot's backyard's fence kind of goes where these trees are at. So you can kind of see the fence here. So they're kind of standing, I think, in between the two fences. You can't really see the other one as much because of the trees. But they're scanning all of this, which is going to pick up all of this. And the lights move basically. So of course they are really they're really kind of standing almost right here. So, I mean, they are really heavily focused on that area and what's going on in that area, the lights. So, awesome. Thank you so much, Carolyn. That's awesome. Because again, I didn't want to say 100% it was. I was like, I'm pretty sure, because how big that thing is in the middle. I'm like, that's got to be the laser that spins and scans. Plus, it's on a tripod with a 360 thing with it. Right here. So I can go 360. That goes down in the middle of the tripod. kind of like an I don't know, axle's the right word, but yeah. All right. Just a huge shout out to my wonderful mods. Please, if you haven't, show them some love. God bless you guys. D, Copper Horse, Sensei, Jocelyn, Copper Horse, and Jennifer. Thank you, Laura, for the PayPal. If I missed a Venmo or PayPal, I will try to get you in the next show. Sometimes I just get them late, but thank you guys so much. God bless you guys for the support. You guys are amazing. I'm still gonna stick on Sebastian's case, of course, but I'll try to kind of be working maybe another case in between, so it's just not the same thing, so it's not stale. But we'll keep on Sebastian each week. But I may kind of bounce around a little bit just to kind of keep it fresh. Jules to Carlee, thank you so much for becoming a member. Sandra, your work and ethic, integrity are inspiring, Chris. No one can debunk that. Thank you so much, Sandra. Well, they can try, but like I said, I could do this all month with that crap. Like I said, the one thing I'm never going to do to you guys, my viewers, my community, and it's not just my community, it's our community, but my show, but I will never lie to you guys to try to support a theory that I believe in. Like, if facts don't align with my theory, I'm going to tell you guys that. But I'm not going to put out false facts to support my theory. I'm never going to do that to my community. I think it's disgusting, especially when you probably know that those facts are false, and you know what I'm talking about. This crap, all this crap, right? Yeah, this crap right here. I'm not going to do this, to you guys. Never. Try to just, But I'm so glad they did, because now, like I said, I literally just like an hour before I went live, I was like, holy shit, there's the lights. Like, when I zoomed in, I was like, oh my God, why don't I zoom in on that? Maybe there's something there. And I'm like, well, God, I'll be gosh darn. There are 2 dots, basically, and there are 2 dots there, and then it kind of tilts down to the left, which this one does too, but something is clearly blocking it, probably from their angle that they're at. And anyway, I digress. Have you thought of making an aerial reenactment on a daytime map showing where you think the flashlight car events happened? If I was from that state and I had permission, if I was basically like that team and what they had the chance to do, oh my God. I mean, it makes me pissed off, because they probably could have figured out the size of that car pretty easily. That's what kind of pisses me off. They could have at the very least, this team that went out could have figured out by parking a truck. It wouldn't be hard. God, it would not have been hard at all. You would get a vehicle, park it in different areas, and, film it and see what fits, and then overlay. They could have figured out the size within a pretty good, idea, inches. Easily. If they were actually motivated and wanted to find Sebastian. But they don't. They just want to cover up for, whatever. I don't know. But in my opinion, they don't want to find Sebastian. That's my opinion. So I digress, guys. I am going to get out. I love you guys so much. Yeah, on Google Maps. I do know what you mean, Sandy. But if I would want to do it, I would want to do it that way. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of done it a little bit before. I've had a few diagrams. Maybe I'll add something in, because I do, like I said, I'm working on a video with the lights that I want to just put out for it. So it's a short video that anybody can just go to, and it's not a huge, big live show. Gina, for you, thank you so much for the $10. God bless you. All right. Yeah, and that's not cool. It's not cool. Thank you so much, CJK. Again, I wish I could go to everybody's comment. But I appreciate the love and support. You guys are amazing. You guys drive me every day to search this case. And again, this is a community effort, as always. So, all right. I'm going to head out, guys. We'll do an outro. And, I can't load the new one. All right. I'm going to do the old outro. I have a new pet outro. If you're new members, if you'd like to send in pet pictures, this is for the members only. If you'd like to email me your pet pictures, because I could use a few more. But I'm going to do an outro, and we'll see you guys likely tomorrow.